Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to episode number 55. And what is the title of it today?
Money of Biblical Proportions.
Yes. And why are you laughing?
You just need to go watch the YouTube video.
I'm wearing glasses of biblical proportions. That's why I wanted to wear it. Isn't that awesome?
Can you see in those?
No, not really. I have some big, giant gold dollar bill glasses that I just discovered earlier today from 10 years earlier in my life. And I realized how ridiculous I was when I was teaching some of this money stuff. And these are really ridiculous. I'm going to have to get rid of them.
I'm having a hard time taking you serious.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that was the problem back then. But I definitely wouldn't want to drive a car or, navigate anything wearing these things. It's awesome. But they can't see us if they're listening to the podcast. But I'm so excited about this title of Money of Biblical Proportions. So introduce the topic and how we came to this episode.
Yes, so our question for today is, I heard you speak somewhere recently and you rattled off Bible verses like an auctioneer, which sounds like you exactly. Could you point me to some of your favorite passages in Scripture that focus on wise money management?
Yes. What a great one. And I do. I know that I do rattle them off. And it is unbelievable. I don't know how I know all of them. And I think I can get most of them word for word, at least to certain versions of the Bible. So that's good.
That's good.
Man, I cannot wait for this episode. It's going to be so good. We're Christ followers. We want to honor God with everything we do in our life, including our money. And it is a great challenge, right, for us to be able to do that because it turns out that a lot of people do not like to follow biblical methodologies in a lot of areas of their life, and including money.
Yeah.
And one of the great competitions for us in life is this thing called greed. And another one is selfishness. And I don't know what your relationship with the Lord, for everybody who's listening to the podcast, but I will tell you this right now. Whether you have a relationship with the Lord or not, this stuff will help you in your finances. And we really want to help you in every area of your life, including your finances. So we're fired up about it. And I'll try not to rattle it all off like an auctioneer, although that's funny.
Awesome.
But that leads us to a great time at the podcast. Very excited. Are you excited about it?
Yes.
Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
This portion of the podcast is sponsored by the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not 0% balance transfer credit card page. On this page, you can see how transferring a high-interest credit card balance can help you gain serious traction towards debt freedom. Our topic for today's episode. For more information about today's current events relating to 0% balance transfer credit cards, be sure to visit the Next Steps 0% cards, it's a mouthful, at iwbnin.com. And we'll include a link to the show notes for that as well.
That's awesome. And man, I will tell you, number one, you should do that. It's sponsored by the 0% balance transfer credit cards, how I got traction with paying off my credit card debt and got me to 0% overnight, instantaneously. It gave us great traction. It was actually a great thrill of real accomplishment when we first started. Happened in December of 2002 for me and changed my life. And it can do the same for you. But for today's current money events section,
Wow.
I want to address a lie that I continually hear people repeat. Can you tell we're recording this right after I've had vacation? I am fired up and ready to go.
You are fired up.
I want to address a lie that I continually hear people repeat. But the problem is they state it like it's a fact. And it starts with, well, we can't budget. And then they list their proof. And they start with the next word, because. We can't budget because. And then we can't budget because. Let's stop right there, because I don't care what the because is. The issue is already apparent. The person who says this has already given up. They've already given in. They've gave up the ghost. They've surrendered to the inevitable failure that surely awaits them. Because if you do not plan, if you don't have a plan, and listen, budgets are different. Some people have a budget by automating all their bill payments, and they have a certain amount of money to spend every single month, and they make sure they don't go over it. That's a budget. It might not be written down every single month, but it's set. It's fixed. They've automated it. And it might be that they use our tools and print it out and follow it to a T. But both of those are forms of budgeting. But if the person says we can't budget because I immediately know this, they believe a lie. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
They believe a lie. They can't budget. Every single person on this planet can do a budget. Right before we recorded this podcast episode, I was talking to a group of 11 kids in a leadership training class. They're ages 16 to 22. And all of them are learning about money right now. And all of them have a relationship with money. They're all earning money right now. And every single one of them can sit down and plan it before they spend it. Every one of them. They're not saying we can't budget. They're saying, how do I do this in a way that allows me to win? So when we say because, it's really our way of saying, I can't do this because I have a justifiable reason. And here's the problem with it. It allows us to take the role of a victim in our story. Like, do you want to be a person that constantly shares all the bad stuff that has happened to you? Like, good night. If we did that, I mean, do you remember like the Lego movie? Have you seen it?
I have not.
You need to see it. Logan's going to watch it, and it's going to be the greatest moment ever. It is going to be great 30 years from now. Because Legos are great 30 years later.
Yeah.
And they have a song, Everything is Awesome, right? And it gets stuck in your head, and now everybody's listened to it, knows you know it's stuck back in your head for the rest of the day. Well, in the second one, just a little newsbreaker here and maybe a spoiler, is they sing, everything's not awesome, everything's not awesome all of the time. And they're trying to help kids understand the fact that things are not awesome all the time.
Right.
And if we shared everything is bad that happened to us, good grief. I mean, what if we decided to flip the script instead and talk about the ways you've overcome challenges? Like, why not have a vision for what's on the other side of the financial giant in your life? I can't win with money. I can't budget because I've went through a divorce. Well, what happens on the other side of that as that gets resolved? I can't budget because my income varies every month. Well, what happens when you have margin in your life and you no longer live paycheck to paycheck? I can't budget because my 30-year-old kid won't leave the house. Well, what's going to happen when they leave your house? Like tomorrow. Over the past 6 months, listen to this, Megan. Mm-hmm. Over the past 6 months, every member of my family has been to the doctor. Not as well checkups.
Yeah.
2 hospital visits. And I could share about the healthcare scares. And I can talk about the test for cancer. And I can talk about, the heart catheterization.
Yeah.
Right? In my family, this happened. I could talk about the piles of medical bills that showed up, and I could yell about the high cost of medical insurance, and I could yell about the fact that the premium has tripled. Same size of family, my premium has tripled over the last 10 years with the ACA, and I could cry over the amount of the money required to satisfy all the healthcare providers. But instead, I choose to get after it. I'm going to get after it. This is why I save for medical bills in my budget. This is why I have a health savings account. This is why I choose to pay for the extremely high cost of medical insurance. It's why I do that. And it's why I organize all of our EOBs. Isn't that awesome? EOBs, explanation of benefits. But you know what? I like another acronym, so I get to say EOBs like that. And bills. And I write the checks, and I break up with the money. I don't want to break up with Andrew Jackson and a lot of Ben Franklins. I don't want to. I like Andrew Jackson. Really like Ben Franklin. I want him to stick around. Do you?
Yes.
You like Ben?
Yeah.
Ben's awesome. And so this is why I choose. It's a choice. Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm saying I choose to be grateful to have the money to pay the insurance and pay the bills. So in today's current money events section, do you have any becauses in your vocabulary? You're driving your car right now. Are you saying I can't do budgeting because our income is unpredictable? Our income is too little. My spouse won't behave. I'm too exhausted. Or I don't know how to budget. Please. Today is your day. Knock the becauses out of your language repertoire and take charge of your money today and start winning. You can do this. And that concludes today's current money events section.
That's great.
Was that good? That's kind of a rant.
It was
I feel
a little
like
bit
I was
of a rant.
rantish.
Yeah.
A little fired
I'll just
up
let you go.
after vacation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right. So our success story today, here we go. Hi, Joe. I was having coffee with a friend at Panera on Monday when 2 church members stopped by our table, which inevitably happens every time you're at Panera. You see somebody that you know.
Oh, yeah.
At least I feel like that's what happens here in Anderson. hi. One of them is hi. This is very.
They stop by the table to say hi.
The pause and then the come back part is. One of them is his newlywed the last 18 months and was talking about how they're using her husband's old house as a rental and how well it's going. I said, it's an Oxen, and she said, exactly. And speaking of Oxen, she works at a local public library and is one of the people in charge of the stock of books they keep. Our library is top-notch and has won awards for its excellence in the country. Wow. After hearing you talk about Oxen, she got a copy for her for her library. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She is the point person for the National Loan a Book program to other libraries around America. She said, I love seeing Joe's book get loaned out all over the country.
That's awesome.
This is a really cool story. I hadn't fully read it before, so I'm reading it for the first time. She said it goes out constantly. Then she just said recently the computer system showed the book was in stock, but it was nowhere to be found in the personal finance section. She searched and searched and searched, and she finally found it somewhere. Someone had mistakenly put it in the livestock section. She thought that was so funny. That is really funny. Anyways, I wanted to share that your book is making the rounds in the Library Loan a Book program all the way from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Keep it up. Get fired up.
Yes.
Yep.
And that is awesome. That's from Pastor Jeff Manis out in Element Church in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yep.
And so thanks so much, Jeff, for sharing that story. That fires us up. That is hilarious. It's in the livestock section. That's awesome. I would love to write that book, but I'm not the one to write that. A lot of farmers know how to do that.
Yep.
But we love your success stories. Keep sending those in. I hope that's an encouragement to you. Oxen is a language that all of you can learn, and it's a great investing language. It gives you some hooks to talk about it and teach it to your children as well. And so I encourage you to pick that up in our resource store or on Amazon.com. Today's credit card, known as Amazon Prime.
I just can't get over Amazon. So they decided that UPS and FedEx weren't good enough for them, so they created their own postal service, basically. Yeah. They're like, government's not good enough, FedEx not good enough. They're just taking over the world.
And they somehow convinced the United States Postal Service to deliver on
Sundays. I know.
That's crazy.
I know. But I actually prefer when they deliver my packages because it says, your package is 9 stops away, and I can literally track it on the map.
From the mail person? From the U.S. Postal Service?
No, from the Amazon person.
Oh, from Amazon.
So when Amazon delivers it, they have this little van. They probably come to your house too. But it says 9 stops away, and you can literally watch them. And then when they put it on your doorstep, if you're not home, they'll take a picture of it so you know that it's there.
Wow. That's awesome.
I mean,
fired up.
I can't get over it.
And today, as we record this podcast, Amazon cleared $2,000 stock price.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And Prime Day's getting ready to happen.
I was about to look. Prime Day's getting ready to happen.
And so we're going to talk about teaching. So remind everybody what we're going to talk about today.
Yes. So our question for today is, I heard you speak somewhere recently and you rattled off Bible verses like an auctioneer. Could you point me to some of your favorite passages in Scripture that focus on wise money management?
Absolutely. I could go on and on and on about this, and I'm going to write a book about this one day. But I love this topic. This is a great topic. It's been hugely influential in my financial decisions. And so I kind of distilled it down to my favorites. And so if you've ever been to a live event that I've taught, or you've read my book, I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, or you've read any of my stuff that I write, pretty fast you'll hear me mention Proverbs 21:5. And Proverbs 21:5 says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit, and it says, as surely as haste leads to poverty. And what I love about that verse, and it connected with me, is the fact that you could have profit, money left over. Profit is a business term. We don't usually say in our personal finances that we made profit this month. But it's really the ability to put money away above and beyond your obligations. And we all would like that. Given the choice between spending all of our money and ending up broke or having money left over, we would all choose money left over, right?
Yes.
And the writer says 2 things lead to that profit. And that's what I love about Scripture is, if you look at it, there's depth to it. And it says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit. And so what I love about it is it says, if you have a plan of the diligent, which means a plan that you can follow, because many of us have come up with financial plans that are not able to be diligently followed because they're ridiculous. We're not going to spend any money on groceries for the next 2 months. We're not buying any clothes for our kids, even though they're going back to school. and you know what? We're not going to pay any of our bills for 3 months, and we're just going to save the difference. That's not realistic. You cannot follow that. Or you're like, I'm not going out to eat any this month, and you've got 3 kids involved in traveling sports. It's not realistic.
Right.
And so it says the plans of the diligent, and planning means a connotation of before something happens. It's you plan something before it happens, and it allows you to see challenges, financial challenges ahead of time so you can make choices. And we all love choices. And when you plan, you can see the opportunity, the challenge, make adjustments now so when that opportunity and challenge shows up, you can take advantage of the opportunity, you can mitigate the challenge and still lead to profit. And that's awesome. And so that's what I love about that verse. And I love how it says that as surely as haste leads to poverty. It says as surely, as for certain. If you're hasty, if you do not plan and you do not diligently follow the plan, that is hasty and you will be broke. And I've lived that part of the life too. Love that verse. My second one is Proverbs 15:22. It actually drove me to get financial coaching in my life. And it says that plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. And so you and Jordan, you have people that help counsel you with your money. And you learn from different places and people and websites and things. So where do you receive counsel when it comes to your money?
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously one of our people that we look to. I mean, not just because you're my boss and I work for you and I believe in what you're teaching, but so I would say Jordan has a couple of friends that he works with that are more like family to us. And so, when we have, issues or problems or money questions, we go to them a lot of times as well.
You've talked to our CFO.
Yes, our CFO here. And then, online can be a great tool, whether it's, our resources online, whether it's Dave Ramsey, there's lots of different places that you can go, and just making sure that you trust the people that you're
it's so important
learning from.
And it says plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. And so really it says, it ties to the previous verse, Proverbs 21:5, it says the plans of the diligent lead to profit. Well, it says that plans fail for lack of counsel. So you need to have counsel as you're preparing these plans. And so as Logan was on the way, you found out Logan was on the way, and you guys were going to be first-time parents, you got counsel from some people.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did.
Oh,
what
yeah.
can I expect as this human being is created in me? And what do I do when I'm delivering him? Oh my God. And then what do you do when I get him home and we're responsible? So you sought counsel.
Yep.
Who gave you counsel? Wise counsel?
Definitely my mom, my sister. Yep. My sister has 3 kids, so she's a great resource. Other of our friends, a lot of our really great best friends have kids already. And so, they're only like a season ahead of us. So it's still very fresh in their mind, the newborn phase. So talking to them, there's tons of apps and websites, what to expect when you're expecting that kind of stuff that you can go to and learn from.
Which is a fantastic resource. And so I just asked that question because the beauty of these scriptures is it does not just apply to money.
Right.
That if you want a really good vacation, you should probably plan before you leave. Yeah. Right? I'll never forget we went on a vacation. And I was more newlywed. And we had managed to get my brother to show up and some of my wife's younger siblings. And we planned this camping trip in the middle of these remote hills, mountains in Pennsylvania, and it's in an alpine area, so it's more high than you think. And me and my twin were in charge of the food plan. Well, all we did was buy meat. We had no side items.
Oh gosh,
we had nothing but meat, and we showed up at the campsite at least 2 hours away from a grocery store with nothing but just meat. It was a disaster because we did not have a plan.
What did you do?
We left camp halfway through. For real. We all left. It was awful. And so it all applies. And whether you're a first-time parent or you have a child that's going bananas and you're seeking counsel, or you're getting ready to buy a house, or you're getting ready to choose investments, it says that plans fail for lack of counsel. But with many advisors, they succeed. And so for each thing that I've asked you, you've been able to mention multiple people, multiple things. That's why it says with many advisors. Get multiple advice. In the abundance of counsel, they will succeed.
Just making sure that they're wise.
Yeah, and I would tell you this. They don't have to believe the same way you believe. I do not care what my doctor's beliefs are. I care, does this doctor know what they're doing on what they're working on me?
Yeah.
What is their track record at that moment? Does that make sense? And so I think a lot of people allow that to create a barrier between them and the counsel that they could receive. And I just say, get all the knowledge from an abundance of counsel, process it through the word, and let that be your filter.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. But if you don't know the word and the word is not in you, you won't be able to do that. And that's why it's so positive to read this great word. Now, we've been in Proverbs. I'm going to do one more in Proverbs, and that's Proverbs 4:7. And that it says, the beginning of wisdom is this, get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. And what I love about this verse is it says this great, I think it's like a hilarious statement at first. It says the beginning of wisdom is this, get wisdom. Well, thanks a lot, Solomon. That's wonderful. It's kind of like, the first step to clean your room is clean your room. Thanks a lot. That's awesome. But then he adds the tagline that is just killer.
Yeah.
And he says, though it cost all you have, get understanding. What Solomon, the wisest guy who ever lived, said is it is worth paying money for knowledge. And this is why we pay for consulting. This is why we pay colleges to train us up. We're paying for wisdom. And we pay for books. We pay for classes. This is why, is because it is worthwhile to pay for it. It takes people effort and energy to learn, to become wisdom counsel in certain areas. And guess what? The people that are wise in one area, they go seek counsel and pay for counsel in other areas. And that is the beauty of this, that be willing to spend money on your money knowledge. Be willing to spend money where you lack knowledge, because it would be hugely helpful to you.
Yeah. We're getting ready to go spend some money on sleep training.
On what type of training?
Sleep training.
Sleep training?
Because we need sleep.
For you as adults or for
Logan?
The boy?
So we're transitioning him into his crib and learning how to him to sleep in there. And
it costs you money.
Sleep through the night. Oh,
what is the value of a great night's sleep?
Right
and
now,
all the podcast audience says it's invaluable. It's priceless.
They tell me that it would get better. It will get better. So I'm looking forward to that day.
I believe that any mother who has children, boom, 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 like one of my friends had 4 kids under the age of 5.
Oh my gosh.
They don't even remember about a 7-year span of their life. They don't even know what happened. Yeah. It just somehow magically stuff happened.
Yeah, I go to put things in the pantry that should be in the refrigerator. I go to put things in.
That's a problem if it's fish. That'd be bad.
I haven't told you, but I smashed my finger in the car door.
What?
It's like black and blue.
Bad.
Yeah, it was bad. I had to go to urgent care. So you just don't know. Your mind just leaves you.
So though it cost all you have, so be willing to invest in your education is what that says. Malachi 3:10 is a giving verse. It says, bring the whole tithe in the storehouse. That word is interpreted as temple in the root word, that there may be food in my house. And the Lord says, test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I'll not throw open the floodgates of heaven, pour out so much blessing, there not be room enough to store it. And that's super important because that verse is a promise. And it says, if you do this, then I will do this. And for me, I have tested the Lord through giving. I've made giving the first thing that we do in every single one of our budgets. We give away more than 10% of our income per year. We do it for a reason. And this is one of the reasons. But we also know, I never forget a friend of mine named Jamie Salmon. And man, I don't know if he listens to the podcast at all, but man, he started attending this church we helped start in the very first few months. And he met the Lord, and it was incredible. And he read the Bible all the way through in 3 weeks. It was unbelievable. Blew me away. And he said a statement. He subsequently went on staff many years later, and we were on staff, and they were asking questions. Why do you give? They're going around asking a bunch of people questions. Why do you give? His answer floored me and has stuck with me ever since. He says, he thought about it, and he says, I give to keep me from becoming greedy. And that is, you want to stave off greed? Go find somebody in need and give to them. Make giving part of your habit, and greed will start to leave your life. And it's a huge thing. Ecclesiastes 11:2 is a great investing verse. It says, invest in 7 ventures, yes, and 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. So really it says, spread your investments around. Don't have all your money in in one place. Let's trigger all the statements. Don't have all your eggs in one basket, that type of stuff. And literally, I did that once, by the way. I have chickens. I have chickens. And they had not checked for eggs for a couple days. And I went out and I checked for eggs, and there were 18 eggs in the hen house.
Oh, wow.
That's about 3 days production, a little less than that. And so I had them all in a basket.
Uh-oh.
I did. And I went to walk in the house, and I somehow forgot how to walk, and I tripped. And guess what happened?
All the eggs went
I
bye-bye.
literally laid there saying, I literally just lived the dumbest statement ever. I had all my eggs in one basket, and not one of them was spared.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was nasty mess. Awful. So you should invest in 7 ventures, yes, and 8. And so if you have mutual funds in your retirement account, you are already in more than 8 ventures, trust me. The average mutual fund has 50 to 200 or more companies in it. So that's diversity.
Yeah.
That's very important. I would also encourage you to think about investing in more than just that, like real estate, small business, things like that, and land can be like that. Another one is Proverbs 13:22. And Proverbs 13:22 says, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, for the grandbabies, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. And really what it speaks to is legacy. And, as much as you cannot fathom loving anything more than your son, Logan, you're going to love his kids more.
Yeah.
That's what I see with grandparents. And I know there's some grandparents listening to this podcast, and they're like, that's about right.
Yeah.
Like it's for real. Like when the grandbaby's born, they forget about you. They just go past you to the grandkid every time. Have you seen this?
Yeah, my parents came to visit this weekend, and they pulled up. They got out of the car. I was holding Logan, and immediately it was all about Logan. And my mom took him, and my dad was like, "Hey." And I don't even think they said hello to me for a little bit.
Yeah,
it's okay.
So we'll pay for some extra counseling in the benefits here. But here's what I know: a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. And we want good things for the next generations behind us. And for me, this is motivation to say, yes, I want to leave an inheritance of money, but I only want to do so if I leave also paired with a knowledge of what to do with it and how to use it for good. Money in the hands of a fool will be soon parted. We know that. And so I don't want it to ruin them. I want it to be a help to them, not a hindrance. And so that verse is very inspiring to me. Proverbs 13:4 speaks to being lazy. It says, a sluggard's appetite is never filled, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. And I think it's interesting. It says a sluggard, which is fun to say. Say it. Say sluggard.
Sluggard.
Have you said sluggard lately?
I haven't.
It's like a slam, right?
You sluggard.
Do you remember when I was a teenager, that was something we would say when somebody said something and put somebody down. We go, ooh, slam. And that was a thing. But we never said sluggard.
Yeah, I know.
But it basically says a sluggard's appetite's never filled, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. A couple of tie-ins. Number one, remember the first verse I shared, Proverbs 21:5? It says the plans of the diligent. Do you see it? So this is tying in. It's that same person. The desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. And I'll tell you how this speaks to me personally. And maybe it'll speak to somebody listening to the podcast. But when I was broke and had no money, I always wanted stuff. I just wanted stuff. I wanted stuff. When we get this, when I get a 4-wheeler, when I get to go to the mall and buy that, when we get to get this bedroom suit, when we get to, it was always the next big thing. And something happened in this refining process of getting hold of our money, becoming a diligent planner, and doing this for year after year. And now we're over 16 years into this thing, that I realized that the reason the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied is because the desires of the diligent are different than the desires of the sluggard. My desires changed. And therefore, I am much more satisfied and content. And 1 Timothy 6:17-19 speaks to that. Now, there's a verse a little before, I think it's in verse 11 or so, 1 Timothy 6, that ties to that says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. Think about that. Godliness with contentment is great gain. So godliness paired with contentment is always great gain. And if you think about the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied, they're content. Do you see it? Watch this though. The godliness with contentment, that's great gain. But not all great gain will lead to contentment or godliness. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because many people think, I got this tremendous blessing, this must mean God gave it to me. Not always. It does not every blessing brings contentment with it. Some blessings bring great distraction and can really cause turmoil.
Yeah.
And so 1 Timothy 6:17-19, I love how it says this, and it sums it up with such a great phrase. It says, command those who are rich in this present world, which is all of us, not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, it is, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides with everything for our enjoyment. So we can have enjoyment. That's great. It says, command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they'll lay up treasures for themselves for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. And so I encourage you to, if you're listening to this podcast, to say, do you have some favorite Bible verses when it relates to money? And we would love to hear yours.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of people say Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a future and hope. I encourage you to download the YouVersion Bible app. It's the helpful app for the day.
It's awesome.
It has something called streaks, and it allows you to know exactly how many days you've been in the Word. And I can tell you right now that I think I'm at 61 days in a row, 62 now, and I've had 22 perfect weeks this year. And I think there have been 190 days this year as the day of the recording of this podcast, and I've opened it up and read at least the verse of the day 186 days of the year. So I've missed 4. So I'm a slacker in some time. But I will tell you, it's a very helpful tool. You can create an account. You can annotate certain Bible verses, put them in categories, read study plans on these, and maybe we should produce one and put it on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. So tell everybody the key financial quote today.
Yes, the key financial quote is, the greatest money book ever written is the Bible.
Said me and some other people, but we're super excited about it. Those are the top verses. As I said, I could go on for days, and this is a little bit longer podcast episode. Sorry about that for everybody, but I really wanted to make sure we shared those top 11. We'd love to hear yours, and also really do encourage you, get the word in your heart, as it says, your word have I hid my heart, Lord, that I might not sin against you. And my people perish for lack of knowledge. And so those two are very important to say. Let's get the knowledge. Let's get the word. It'll help you prosper.
Awesome. All right. Well, our episode next time, we're going to be doing your top money questions, because it is the end of the month already, and I cannot believe it happened so fast. But if you liked today's episode, please help us get this podcast to others who could benefit. You could do this by quickly rating our podcast and leaving a review. These ratings and reviews help us make our podcast better for other listeners. And don't forget, just a reminder, on the last Monday of the month, we're going to be answering your top questions. That's what we're doing next episode. But if you have other questions, maybe that we could sponsor or we could highlight in our next top money questions, make sure you send those at info@iwbnin.com, and it could be featured on the podcast. And if you implemented one of our tips, make sure you share your success stories with us, and you can email those to info@iwbnin.com.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, we're so fired up. Next episode, just your top money questions. Get those emailed in. We can get those on the show. We love to be able to serve you guys. Have a great week and go prosper. Get fired up.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.